They need somebody that didn't go to church, Craig, so.
No, that this gentleman is the one who fired at the pier.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
We see a lot of cases.
Poachers?
No, actually, he was militia and he was on duty supposedly, and he didn't follow the rules.
That guy right there with the hat.
With the hat?
Standing in the doorway, he's the one that didn't go to church.
Ah, very good. Pull that door shut for me,
That's
guys.
interesting, but he's the gentleman who pointed him out. He's the gentleman who pointed him out.
Suddenly turn into
So
a
I'd like to
werewolf
come
game.
forward.
Let me find the relevant statute.
You're on page 26
26.
of the laws.
My eyes are a bit
Divine,
weaker
moral,
than
and
yours.
martial. I believe. Let me put that door there. It seems to
I still
keep
see
flying
some more
open.
coming. Excellent. Good day all, and welcome to the church here at Henricus. This building would be the largest building inside the fort. Mount Malady would be larger, but as far as inside the fort, it will be this building. And you will be required to be in here 15 times a week. Matter of fact, there's a man back there we're going to talk to about that in a little bit here. But we have more than one miscreant with us today, so if the accused will stand, please.
I knew it.
This militiaman is charged with violating martial law number 41 of the laws divine, moral, and martial, which states that no soldier shall unprofitably waste his powder, shot, or match by shooting it idly away, or at birds, beast, or fowl, but shall give an account unto his corporal of the same, who shall certify his captain upon peril of his first fault so committed to be committed to prison, there to lie in irons, head and heels together, 8 and 40 hours. For the second offense, condemned 6 months to the galleys.
Is the galleys a nice place?
No, we're English. We don't have galleys. That's a Spanish thing. But apparently, you're going to get condemned to them. So, do you speak Spanish?
See.
Yes, he's being directly.
Yes, you can answer the question.
Oui.
All right, you'll do really well there. For the third offense, to be condemned to the galleys for 2 years. So how do you plead?
There were certain circumstances. I didn't know it was a deer. I thought I was shooting at him.
Which one? The one down there?
Church. Right?
Did you miss church on a Sunday? Oh,
Sarah, let me speak in his defense for a moment, because as you can tell, he's a new man to Virginia.
he is, yes.
I don't know that he's aware of these arts somewhat different from the laws of England, where you can't shoot the king's deer at all.
True.
And he would probably be hung for that. But
Indeed.
here in Virginia, our men...
He's not hung, don't worry.
Our men are hungry. And we were contemplating in one of our assemblies before we went out to fire our muskets for practice. We were contemplating how lovely it would be to have a venison stew. And I believe this man here took it literally and went out and fired his musket, which he was not very good at shooting, and missed the deer and therefore wasted the powder and shot. So yes, there has been an infraction here. But I believe since he is a valuable man and a new man, perhaps maybe we could augment or change the punishment somewhat, so it would not be so severe. I need the man. And perhaps maybe he can learn from this lesson. And perhaps we can learn to be quiet. That's very important.
There is truth to this.
Yes. At 100%.
You were acting on behalf of your fellow messmates?
I'm completely selfless.
I'd say we dunk him in the river.
Well, let us put us to the populace.
Upstream from the outhouse.
Because I cannot make a decision on this case. How say you?
Guilty.
Well, we know that. We've got the guilty part down.
You're next.
What'd you do to him?
Dunk him.
You won't know each other.
Dunk
right?
him.
Dunk him like this.
No.
There's a ghost shark around
No.
here.
They don't get along. We only want to keep them separate.
Separate. Yes, we do. They don't fire at the same time.
Good choice.
Dunk him.
Dunk him?
Yep.
Dunk him? Is that actually a punishment today?
It's hot.
I mean, seriously. It might feel kind of good.
Well, it would be for a witch,
It would be.
but, you know, we could,
But they float.
they do float.
What else floats? Oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. 3 small rocks.
Making a Cleveland Browns fan.
All right, so we're going to dunk this miscreant?
I say, sir, that would be a fit punishment. The man does understand, know how to swim. But I think dunking him on a day like today would be in line, in the river.
But if we do that, we may also get dunked. I suggest rather the punishment that John Smith would use for foul language.
And what would that be, sir?
Pouring a bucket of cold water down the sleeve.
But he has no sleeve. Look at that.
We will find sleeves for him. You're not using yours.
I will let him use one of mine,
Well,
except,
there you go.
no, if you're gonna, well, okay.
I think we should go with that.
Okay, that would be fine.
Since he was helping out his messmates. All right, be seated. And where's our other victim? I mean, miscreant?
Step forward.
Services.
Well, he has, sir, and you know, while I defended this man here, I am not apt to do it as much in this case, because this man is in this church, and he also has the uncanny ability of always pointing out the fault in others. And when I walked forward earlier, I said, "Where is the man?" And he said, "There he be." Just like that. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes, him.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I shot at him.
So where is it? What page is the?
We need to have you back up here.
What page do you have, sir?
Give me a moment.
I've had another trial about this once before, and I know the punishments are severe. One of them was once again the galleys.
It was, depending on what day of the week it was,
No food.
and which service.
This is his first offense.
Yes, let's see what we have here.
Yeah.
His second, his first offense was to God.
Silence.
Is that by birth?
It's order in this court.
All right, well, was this a weekday or was this, on page 11,
It was a Sunday.
law number 10?
Sunday.
That was
Sunday?
Definitely
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah. It was
I believe it was a Sunday, sir.
And which, how many times has this occurred?
As far as I know, it could have happened many times. I've only known of this one occasion.
One occasion.
But maybe someone here would know of another.
Oh, all
Does
the
anyone?
time.
Do you know of another?
He has never gone.
So he has missed more than one service.
Oh.
Would you say 2 Sabbath
The whole
services?
month.
More than this many. However many that is.
Where are you at, Ken?
We're beginning here.
Number 10.
This week.
This
No
week.
man shall be found guilty of sacrilege, which is a trespass as well committed in violating and abusing any sacred minister, duty, or office of the church, irreverently or profanely,
That was him.
as by being a church robber,
Yes.
you're safe
never,
on that,
Never.
to filch, steal, or carry away anything out of the church appertaining thereto, or unto any holy or consecrated place or divine service of God,
Burn him.
which no man should upon pain of death. Likewise, he shall rob the store of any commodities. I think I have the wrong law here.
I've
broken none of those, sir.
Skip the page.
Yeah, they couldn't have stolen anything from church. He never went.
Let me see. No, it's not that one. You'd think we'd be better at this. There's only 74 of them.
Look under capital punishment.
Ah, found it.
Let's just burn them.
Page 10, it was a page off. Law number 6.
What page is this?
10. Down the bottom.
10.
Every man and woman duly twice a day upon the first tolling of the bell shall upon the working days repair into the church to hear divine services upon pain of losing his or her day's allowance for the first commission. For the second to be whipped, for the third condemned to the galleys for 6 months.
Yeah.
Shame for you, you missed Sunday service.
But I can explain.
Well, you will be given an opportunity to speak.
You'll have your peace. Likewise, no man or woman shall dare to violate or break the Sabbath by any gaming, public or private, abroad or at home, but duly sanctify and observe the same. both himself and his family by preparing themselves at home with private prayer, that they may better be fitted for the public according to the commandments of God and the orders of our church, as every man and woman shall repair unto the morning to divine service and sermons preached upon the Sabbath day, and in the afternoon to divine service and catechizing, upon pain of the first fault, to lose their provision allowance for the whole week following. Don't worry, you don't have that problem. Yeah, you're safe. For the second, to lose his set of allowance and to be whipped. But you're okay, you don't have that problem. You missed it more than that. For the third offense, to suffer death.
Death.
So the good news is you don't have to go to church anymore. Okay? So you're good to go on that. Now, speak your piece.
Well, I was coming, and I heard this shot fired. And I went outside, and that's where I saw him. So I was
Again, it goes back
distracted.
to him.
Yes, yes.
Are you sure we can't just like do something with the pair of them?
Well, I think given time that will happen, sir. I mean, look.
Well, that's true, yes. Well, he won't be a problem anymore.
As a matter of fact, I think it might be a good idea, as opposed to what you said earlier, is that we've had them go out together on reconnaissance,
And
perhaps.
see which one comes back.
Perhaps neither one.
We could send them to find the Pacific.
We could, or
Well, I've been told by the Indians hereabouts that if we go 3 days west of the falls, we should be able to find salt water.
then we could send them on that errand. The others have never come back.
The Pacific, how far can it be?
3 days.
Right.
But now, what manner of death are we
better than
talking
whipping.
about here?
If the Indians get them?
No, no. If what means of execution? Would it be the axe?
Oh, we have
The
no,
noose?
nothing that easy.
What would it be?
We could string them up,
Okay.
which is basically tie the neck
Right.
and just pull them up the tree,
Exactly.
which is pretty. Yeah, they
That's
kind
the
of
devil. Yeah,
flop them
exactly.
back. Yeah, the eyes bulge out, tongue.
Horrible thing to watch.
We could execute them with their own arms.
He used a bone.
Shoot.
Do we have
With
to
his
take
own
his arms?
gun. Okay. That's one of the things we.
Or, I mean, he is a soldier, so he carries a sword.
We could just run him through.
We could.
But first of all, I guess we need to determine whether or not his guilt or innocence.
Guilty.
Put him up there next.
Have you done any gaming?
And these are his messmates.
He owns many set of dice. Hundreds.
Which he breaks out every Sunday while he's not in
Not even
church.
at church.
Of course, the problem with that is, who is he dicing with?
That guy.
So perhaps we need to review some more of these.
The guy that
These
keeps
mysteries.
yelling,
Everybody here.
Perhaps you've heard the story of the devil coming to Devonshire. They struck, the lightning struck the church, rolled through like a bowl of fire. A woman at her tavern nearby said that the devil came in and drank a draught of beer before his house. A dog flew up in the air and was dashed down to the ground in front of the church. And the man, one of the men who was killed, had cards in his pocket. Charged. Must this be true? There we go. So perhaps, maybe, at least he has not brought the
At
dice.
the very least, let's step back.
Yes.
No cards, no dice.
Do you have any back at your house?
Methinks he's trying to avoid answering the question. Good for him. She's not a member of the court.
Good, exactly. She can't be.
So, do we execute him, or do we send the pair of them out to find the Pacific?
Well, sir, I'm here. I'm his captain. I will speak in his defense. I do need men, and I do believe that maybe we could revert back, since this is the first time he's officially been
I
charged.
shall never miss again.
The other offenses
Neither
can't
will
be
I.
brought into the court as easily, because usually what occurs here is that we have the recorded first missing, the second missing, and each time there's a trial and an appropriate punishment.
True, and this is the first
I
trial.
see, but since it was a Sunday, he gets the whole week. Is that the way it reads?
The
Without
entire week, no food?
No food. And anyone who brings him food will suffer the same punishment. But I don't believe anyone will. Now, sometimes we would tie the man to a tree, arms behind him, so that he could be made an example of with the rest.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Or like it says they're tied. I don't
Hand
know
and
that we
feet.
have some of these implements here to do this.
Tied hand and foot for 48 hours?
Yes. Yes.
We can try.
I'll take the no food option.
Well, I say that we throw it out to the to his peers here and to the rest of the men.
As bloodthirsty as this group is, they want a piece of him. He might be going to the Pacific.
Perhaps they shall have it.
What say you?
Guilty.
He's quick.
I seem to hear that voice off.
Shall we ask first, however, do they also have dice and card implements?
Irrelevant.
They are not on trial here. Besides, I owe that one money from the last one. Well, I have a guilty verdict.
Yep. No food.
Those are the
Actually, so, have this man right here
Ma'am.
take him into custody and tie him to a tree. Or does he get the beating first?
We should probably beat him first.
Okay, let's get the sticks and
Oh, absolutely. We don't want to profane the church by beating somebody in here.
Oh! That hard, at least that hard. So
No, don't say at
be
least.
in much pain.
Don't say at least. The way these people are talking.
We do not have a drummer, but we could just imagine we had to roll on the drum and
Make them slow.
proceed. Walk forward at a slow rate.
Oh no, not that one.
Okay, guys, go back inside. Years he's in Virginia. Imagine if the government suddenly put everybody nationwide under martial law. Anybody who's ever been in the military knows that the Uniform Code of Military Justice is not quite the same as the Constitution. There are limits to what can be done under the Constitution that don't apply under the UCMJ. This is what Dale did. He brings it in. He didn't write them, but he brings them. And he is charged with enforcing them. And Dale is a very strict enforcer of these laws. That's one of the reasons why he wants you in this building 15 times a week. Because at the end of each service, they will read to you all 74 laws. So when you're standing up here, you can't say, well, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Oh no, we told you 15 times last week alone that you can't do it. So when you go out there and get tied to the tree, it's on you. You had your opportunity not to do it. So these are the kinds of things that are going to be put in place. Fully 60% of the laws in that book, and this is a facsimile of the book that we usually have down at our soldier's house. On the back table there, you'll find a 1590s military law that is almost word for word put right into this. Okay, but then they add to it the civilian and the religious laws. Those laws are what the colony is going to live under all the way till 1619. Dale has to enforce them. 60% of those laws are a death sentence. We still have things in there like loss of your ears for offenses.
That doesn't mean you left them at home.
No. Well, you might after that.
Cuts it off.
A more mild version of that, they nail your ear to a post in the standing position. Sooner or later, you're going to get tired, and you're going to want to sit down. Blaspheming, taking the Lord's name in vain, get something all the kids today like, these tongue piercings. Not quite the same thing. We usually use a rusty bodkin for it. And we leave it stuck in there. So your tongue is all swollen up, all dried out, bleeding, and you can't close your mouth because your tongue's got this nail sticking through it. Okay? So they're pretty harsh in those days. You saw loss of food for a week for not going to church. Things like, well, probably the worst one that Dale's accused of is they write home complaining about him. Again, put him under martial law. So the people who were here end up sending a note back to complain about Dale to England. Now, they wait till he'd been gone for 7 years and been dead for 2. Okay? I'm not taking any chances with this guy coming back. But one of the things that's mentioned in there is that Dale broke somebody on the wheel. Anybody know what that involves? Yeah? Tell us. Yeah. Yep, one at a time. And they wake you up between in case you have to take a nap in the middle of it. Because they don't want you to miss it. You're only going to do this trick once. Okay? If you read the accounts, you think Dale killed half the population this way. As near as we can determine, one guy. And we're not even sure exactly what he did. So, it's pretty nasty.
Perhaps he gave a dog to one of the natives.
I could be.
I think.
Because, yeah, trading with the natives, guys, without permission, right? We don't want to offend these guys. There's 1,200 of us. There's 30,000 of them. Do not offend the neighbors. So they limit who can talk to them, who can trade with them. We protect the Indians. There's specific laws about doing things to the Indians. And again, it's a death penalty if you do these things. So as harsh as it is, it's also fair from their standpoint. Dale has to enforce them. He doesn't necessarily want to, but he has to. Therefore, he gives you all the information you need not to screw up. If you do, it's on you. This is also why, a couple hundred years later, when we sit down to write the Constitution, we make sure that cruel and unusual punishment is outlawed. Because we remember these laws. These things were still in effect. As British citizens, we could suffer the traitor's death. Had that war gone the other way, every one of them who was caught was a traitor. Anybody ever seen Braveheart? Remember how the movie ends? Yeah. Yeah. So, it's a pretty rough time. Above and beyond the natural effects of being in Virginia, which you're not used to as Englishmen, you have your own higher-ups to worry about. You make a mistake, and it's the right mistake, it's going to be pretty rough here. So this is the kind of thing Dale does. On the other hand, when he arrived here, he found you folks all at your usual occupation, bowling in the streets. How much money are you guys making for the colony if you're bowling all day? That doesn't happen under Dale anymore. The man quite literally whips the colony into shape. And 400 years later, we're still here, guys. Yay. So something must have been done right in that period. You guys have any questions for us?
How often were
Building over there, Rock Hall, in Coxendale Settlement, which was kind of across from the power plant today, where they're doing all that construction by Old State, kind of over there. So if the fort was here, the hospital would have been a little ways away. It was made in 1612. Ours is built to about half the size of the original. It's originally for about 60 to 80 people. So today we're talking about crime and punishment. What I'm focusing on in here, because I would be representing a servant, would be... Sure.
Others in the group, so
yeah, come on in. It would be
I got distracted by the group.
Easy to do. Well, you guys are going to see the goats when you get around, like,
We kind of lost.
a lot closer up than what you're able to see from over there.
We lost some turkey.
Well, so the servants, the punishment of the servants and the laws for them, and also for women. So there were female indentured servants that came over here. If you guys have ever been here before, you know the Proctor Plantation up there. They were a family who lived where the power plant is actually sitting right now. So one of their servants was named Elizabeth Abbott, and she is a really good example to talk about the laws that indentured servants and the different types of people who came over here as indentured servants. So first of all, not everyone who signed on as an indentured servant did so willingly. In the case of Elizabeth Abbott, she probably did not want to come to the New World, but she was in debtor's prison at Newgate, and so it was kind of one of those things where she's not wanted in England anymore, and England wants more people in the colony to help them make more money. So her debts would be forgiven if she made a new life in the New World. This was one of the deals. So a lot of people got sent over here because England just wanted to get rid of them. And she would be placed with a family like the Proctors to be a servant. And then usually if she she would find someone to marry after her time was up. So one of the laws about servants is that they cannot marry without the Virginia Company's permission. Another thing is, of course, you're not allowed to run away, and you think, well, where are you going to go? Here. But she did run away several times, so here's another reason we think she obviously didn't want to be here. So she would run away for several days, a week at a time, and then when she came back, her master and mistress were allowed to correct her with a leather whip for 40 lashes with the max that you could do to anybody. Now, the English Navy, to give you an example of these laws, the English Navy was only allowed to do 100 for their people, and it had to be broken up, and you had to allow for healing time in between. So if you did more than 40 lashes at a time, it is illegal, and it would be extremely detrimental to a person. So what Elizabeth Abbott claims that the proctors did to her for running away, she claimed that they whipped her 500 times with a whip made of fish hooks.
Oh.
Yes, so I have here a little example. Those are metal iron fish hooks on the end there. This is a pretty heinous thing to accuse someone of, and she would have probably been dead immediately if they had actually done that to her. Yeah, those were made at our forge on site 1 year. Yeah, so this is what she claims. So she runs away, she comes back, she is corrected, she runs away again, and someone meets her in the woods, and I know all of this information because we have testimonies of witnesses for a trial that happened. So someone, a neighbor, meets her, sees her, and that she has sores all over her, the back of her legs, from the whipping, and she also, it's infected. And that is what she eventually dies of. So she tells the person that she meets that my mistress ordered me to be whipped 500 times with fish hooks. So two important things here. She's saying an illegal amount with an illegal instrument. She's also claiming that it was her mistress, Alice Proctor, that did it, not John Proctor. So as we look at this, we think there is a good reason for this. We think if the master had been away, for John Proctor did spend some time in England, so if he had been gone and Alice was in charge, she had all legal rights to order any punishment on her servants. If he is present, then she is no longer in charge. The woman is the man's property if the man is in the picture. So if he's there and she orders this whipping of the servant, then the servant is legally allowed to leave. Elizabeth Abbott wanted to go. So we think that's one of the reasons she claims what she did. I personally don't think it's even possible that it happened because she would have died immediately. She wouldn't have been able to let those wounds fester in the woods. So in the trial, at the time it was 1625 or 6, the court thought the same thing, and they found Alice and John innocent of this crime. So there you have an example of...
They didn't determine where she got the wounds from?
No, they did determine that she got the wounds from a whipping that she had received,
Okay, but not
from one of the other servants John Proctor ordered to whip her for running away. And that is legal as long as it's no more than 40 times with only a piece of leather. Yeah. So what they did to her was real, but it was within their legal rights to do. So because she exaggerated, yeah, the number, the instrument, and who ordered it. So those were the things that were important. At this time, if you're found guilty of murder in any way, shape, or form, whether it's accidental or not, they're putting you to death. So they have 3 different sentences if you're found guilty. They have murder, manslaughter, and chance medley, which sounds like it goes with peas and carrots. But it basically means if there's someone up there working on a slate roof and a piece of slate falls and kills someone, that it's, you know, accidental, but they still get put to death.
Oh,
Right.
Yes. So you didn't mean it, but we're still going to kill you. The only difference is your family is not going to owe any money to, you know, the stain does not carry on your family for the rest of their days. Whereas if you're convicted of murder, it would.
So even though, because of her wounds got infected and resulted in her death, did the proctors have any sort of punishment because they had left the wounds untreated? Or was it
Well,
that they
that was
decided that because she
in-
ran away, we would have treated them, but then she ran away again, so we couldn't? That
That
was
is
on her.
exactly what they said. So they did say that anytime any of their servants get hurt, they send for an apothecary, they send for someone to look at these wounds, but she had immediately gone off into the woods again, so they couldn't.
Is that what she was doing, just running off into the woods, or was she
Well,
trying
we
to
don't
go-
know. It's a mystery, and the thing is, we have all of this testimony. We don't have the verdict, but we know it must have been acquitted because if they've been found guilty of any murder in any way, shape, or form, they wouldn't have survived, and they do. So.
Yeah, the hospital itself.
Mhm.
Any records?
But to keep their animals in. So think of it as kind of a big commune. Even though there's one family here, it's going to be an entire kind of small city to itself as time goes on. But the main house here, this would be kind of their starter home. Children are sleeping in the loft above your head. I know you can't tell from where you guys are at, but there's beds up there. Adults down below. As you can see, everything you need is in this building. And as you can also feel, it's not always beneficial to be in this building during the summer, especially when there's things to be doing. There's laundry to be doing, tobacco to be tending for, the gardens, the animals, things like that. So the education is going to come in the evenings or on Sundays when work's not supposed to be done. In front of me I have a couple of different texts of the period that, you know, a child's not necessarily going to be able to read all these, but then a little cheat sheet. I'm sure we all remember from elementary school the little practice writing boards or phrases, rhymes we were supposed to memorize. I have a little book here that has the Lord's Prayer as well as the alphabet and basic numbers on it. So this is going to be the basics of the childhood education. Again, just for the simple sake of literacy and inheriting this on, but it's also a business. That's why these people are here. It's not like the New Englanders who felt that it was a calling from God to be there. These people are here purely for profit, growing their tobacco. And if you want your kids to carry on your business, they have to be able to communicate back and forth with England. These people are by no means self-sufficient. All of their supplies are coming from England. All their dry grains, because they're spending so much time working the tobacco, everything you see in here would have been paid for with tobacco back in England. So you have to know how much you're sending back, you have to be able to do basic addition and subtraction, and to be able to make a list that someone can read to say what you need to get. So that's going to be important. They're going to be using quill and ink. That's one reason I had to run away. I apologize. I forgot to grab the paper this morning. So if any of you are interested, you can practice with that. This is going to be basic of, of that child's education, practicing the writing. So this is what their life's going to be like: chores, taking care of the animals, basic things that are getting done. Now, how many of you have had the pleasure of being around small children as they're growing up? How well is that going to fly? Do things work, as great as that seems? Do your chores, do your stuff, go to bed, it'll be fine. There's a real. I was an education major when I went to college, and one of my co-students, I guess at that time, was going on about how kids these days are not listening to what we're telling them. We weren't like this when we were in school, all of this stuff. And my professor said, well, there was a man that said that a few years back. His name was Plato. So we see the same things. Now, with some of you, I'm sure you remember growing up, maybe I was a pretty obnoxious kid. Spoons across the knuckles, things like that. Just small punishments. I've had visitors say things like leather belts, switches, things like that. Paddles, things like that. So a common one for 400 years ago, if children are misbehaving, is a switch, spoon, paddle, things like that. There's also one that many of you might have experienced in school, being sat in a corner your nose in the corner, you're not supposed to talk, you're supposed to be quiet, things like that. There's also another strange one where you add the sitting on a stool in the corner, but for some reason your hands and your legs are bound, so then it also becomes a balancing act. That's written down, but again, everyone's parenting styles are different, so we don't know. But this is going to be this kind of, not necessarily tough love, but it's going to be a very serious life for children here in Virginia, especially for these middle-income families. Are there any questions I might be able to answer for you about the plantation at all, or about children's roles here?
Would the meal cooking happen in here?
It would. Now, during the summer, it's more than likely going to be outside because, as you can see, the heat's causing a lot of problems. I keep the fire in here today because the humidity helps keep the house from being damp. But if you've heard of a summer kitchen, that's the reason for that. It's not necessarily a fire hazard in the house, but if you have the ability to build a separate structure to keep a fire in the summer and keep your house cool, you're going to do it. So in the winter, you'll see preparation in here. Summer, more likely outside. The firewood's going to be the children's duties to get that. Also the animals. A lot of people don't think the animals. I think traditionally today you think of an old man farmer going out to work with pigs or cattle, and that's what he does. He goes out and works with the animals. 400 years ago, men didn't bother with animals. That was the women's job and the children's job, as well as the house gardens. Especially here in Virginia, men busy themselves with the militia and harvesting tobacco. So there's a lot of duties being placed on these young children on top of everything else. Not to mention being stuck in Virginia 400 years ago wearing clothes like this and trying to have fun. Still trying to figure the fun part out.